It is the most boring time of the year, the NFL offseason between mini camp and training camp. Not a whole lot's going on, so what else can we do but speculate? So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the top 10 teams that could be surprising people here in 2025. But before we get too much further, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and hit that little bell notification to get notified to all my videos here. We've been growing and I really appreciate it. If you do want to follow me on places like X or Instagram, I'm going to link those handles here. I just want to thank every single one of you who has already followed, and if you feel that I've earned it today, please feel free to subscribe as well. But let's get right to the video. I just want to say this is not for gambling purposes. This is not meant to be a super serious video. It's more just to be fun, killing time in the off season, because we have about a month until training camp officially starts and I can start releasing more videos with more news breaks and conversations. So let's just have fun with it, okay? So like I mentioned in today's video, we're gonna be looking at 10 teams that could be surprising in the 2025 season. So there's no particular order to this video. It's just 10 teams that kind of stood out to me looking at, their projected win-loss or just not really being talked about. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with the New England Patriots. Now, the Patriots kind of surprised people a little bit. Drake May, I think, is progressing a little bit quicker than people were anticipating. They decided to focus on defense, not surprising, getting Mike Vrabel as the head coach, but they decided to sign 2 linebackers in Landry and Spillane. They also signed Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver to be a weapon for Drake May. I also like what they did in the draft, as well as getting Trayvon in the second round to help relieve some of that pressure by establishing a better run game. Both of these options should help the Patriots in this upcoming season. They currently set it a win total at 8.5 according to some Vegas odd bankers, so I think that's a little low. I really do think they could hit 9 or 10 potentially looking at their schedule, and it just depends on how well Drake May evolves. Mike Vrabel is a defensive guy, so they're going to transform the Patriots more into what Bill Belichick was doing. I think under Vrabel, it's going to be a more recognizable Patriots team than we're used to. I think the Patriots really are going to surprise people this season. Next up, we have the Tennessee Titans. Yes, the team that picked number 1 overall. I don't expect them to be a playoff team, but I expect them to be better than what people are projecting right now. Yes, getting the quarterback position figured out is the number 1 priority of any team, and they appear to do that with Cam Ward. But I also like what they did filling other positions of need. Getting Zietler from Detroit to help with that offensive line, getting Woods from the Panthers to help at safety. They're trying to rebuild their team slowly yet surely. Now, the Titans still have a lot of holes in their roster. I don't believe in their running back room. Tony Pollard didn't show me anything last year that made me think that this guy can be a number 1 back. Same with Tajay Spears. They're complimentary, but they're not game-breaking players by any stretch of the imagination. Their wide receiver room also leaves something to be desired. Yes, Calvin Ridley is a great option, but he is getting older. They signed Tyler Lockett, who again, getting much older, and their one young guy, Treylon Burks, is coming off an ACL injury, but it looks like for the first time in a couple years, he's fully healthy going to the season. Will the upgrade at quarterback with Cam Ward help get the wide receiver room better? I personally think he will. Cam Ward is a quarterback, yeah, some people are saying if he would have came out a year earlier, he wouldn't have even been in the top 5, but I think that's a little hyperbolic, really. Just you never know what people are going to show and how they're going to perform. So it really just depends on what the Titans do with Ward. Currently, the Titans are set at 5.5 win-loss. I think they will get over. I think they'll get to that 6-7 range, probably surprise a couple teams. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. This feels like something every single year that the Cardinals are going to take that step. They're going to take that next step. They're going to take that next step. And every year, something goes wrong that they don't take that next step. However, I think this year might be a little bit different.
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
This is a year for Kyler Murray to show that he's not only worth that number 1 overall pick, he's also worth all the money the Cardinals are currently paying him. He's also 28, and in a couple years, the Cardinals have an out of his contract, so he really needs to solidify playing well over the next couple years to get a second big contract. Now let's add on Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going into his sophomore season and has a chance to really grow on from what he did last year. But why I really like the Cardinals this year, they got Josh Sweat in free agency. Gannon, their head coach, is a defensive-minded guy, so getting a defensive end like Sweat who can pressure the quarterback is going to unlock that defense in a way that I think we haven't really seen before. If you remember, Gannon came from Philadelphia. He's trying to build a defense more like the Eagles had, a couple years ago. I think getting Sweat is a first main piece in building that defense, so I think the Cardinals should take a step forward this year. Now, this is one of those teams that I feel like their win-loss is kind of set perfectly. It's at 8.5, and looking at their schedule, it's a bit tougher. If this team comes out and performs the way that they potentially could, I think they could get anywhere between that 9 to 10 win range. So I think they could beat that out. But again, it all depends on what happens in training camp. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers spent a lot of money in their secondary this offseason. Yes, it was re-signing their players, but they're believing in their guys and solidifying that team. Dave Canales gets another year under his belt to develop Bryce Young and develop that team more. Where I think this team is super strong and people aren't talking about it is at the wide receiver position. Yes, they drafted McMillan out of Arizona in this past draft, which I think is a great move, but they also still have Adam Thielen, who, yes, he's getting older, but he can take on that mentorship role. Xavier Legette gets his second season under his belt, so we get to see how he developed after this offseason, but I think the secret wild card is Hunter Renfro's comeback. Yes, that Hunter Renfrow. He's sat out the last couple seasons due to a medical issue, but he's trying to make a comeback with the Carolina Panthers. If he can return to form and be that slot receiver for Bryce Young, I think that could really open this offense in an entirely different way. They also have Chuba Hubbard still and Rico Dowdle, so that running back combination could really be very effective with those wide receivers. Bryce Young's height is always going to come into the conversation because he is a shorter quarterback and he had not been performing over the last couple years. But last year, I think he did take a step forward and he is starting to develop after his benching. We shall see what happens during the season. We'll see if he continues with that strong play, or is it possible that they turn to Andy Dalton if Bryce Young struggles? Either way, that receiving core looks so good, and that defense looks good. Currently, their win-loss is set to 6.5, so I think that is a very healthy position to be at, but I do think they can squeak into that 7th win. Looking at their schedule, it'll be tight, but again, I think with their receiving core, they're going to surprise a lot of people, so keep an eye on those Carolina Panthers. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders don't seem like they've been able to impress since they moved to Vegas. And while yes, signing Geno Smith is not the sexiest move in the world, it gives them stability at quarterback that the Raiders haven't had in a few years. I'm sorry, Gardner Minshew, AOC, like these are not quarterbacks that you can rely on. Also, getting Pete Carroll as your head coach will turn that team around as well. They are a team that looks really good on defense with Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Jeremy Chin. These are all solid defensive players. They also drafted the running back Ashton Genty out of Boise State. They have said he's not going to be a bell cow back and he's going to split time with Raheem Mostert, but I don't believe that's true. This kid ran for 2,000 yards. He's a runner. He is going to be more of like a Marshawn Lynch with the Seahawks, in my opinion. Maybe not his first year, but they're going to ramp him up to that level, and we're going to see him run the ball just like Pete did in Seattle. With that said, I do believe the Raiders are going to be better. Their one weak spot is wide receiver. Where they do have an advantage is in Brock Bowers. So if they can lean into that run game with Genty and then spread the ball out as best they can and feed Bowers as well, this offense will keep a lot of defenses on their toes and they're going to outperform what people are expecting. Currently, the Raiders have a projected win total of 6.5, which again, seems pretty healthy. Looking at their schedule, it's a little bit of a gauntlet, but I do think that they can squeak out about 8 wins here. I don't think that's impossible. I really don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Another year of, is this team finally going to do something? The only reason that I'm willing to put them on this list as maybe possibly being surprising is that Michael Penix is going to be the full-time starter from the get-go. The Falcons went into the draft and got players that they actually needed. They've needed edge rushers for years, and they actually did something about it. They went and got Georgia rusher Jalen Walker and Tennessee edge rusher James Pierce Jr. Yes, James comes with a little bit of character issues, but if he can keep that, in check, Falcons look pretty dangerous. Not to mention, you still have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson, and yes, Kyle Pitts. This is a make or break year for Kyle Pitts because he hasn't really lived up to that expectation, so we'll see what happens there. With that said, though, I do think the Falcons are going to be a lot better and potentially even a playoff team. They're currently projected to have 7.5 wins, and I don't think that's insane. I think they can easily get to 8 or 9, potentially even be a playoff team in the NFC South. I want to see what the Falcons do during training camp, obviously, preseason, everything like that, but I do really have a gut feeling they're going to really shock a lot of people this season. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Losing DK Metcalf is going to be a huge loss. There's no way to cut it. Luckily, though, the Seahawks still have JSN, and they just signed Cooper Kupp. Yes, Cooper Kupp is aging, but it's still going to be something for Sam Darnold to throw to. This team does have a lot of question marks all over the field, especially with Sam Darnold and how he's going to perform. He had a couple good years, that's about it, and the Seahawks gave him a lot of money to be their starter. Is he going to be playing like the Minnesota Vikings Sam Darnold, or is he going to convert back to the New York Jets Sam Darnold? That's going to be the major question. And obviously his receiving core is taking a step down. Nothing against JSN and Cooper Kupp, but they are not Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. The Seahawks have a healthy projected win total of about 8.5, so Again, I think that's a very reasonable take to get. I think they can get to that 9, but I wouldn't be shocked if they were at that 8. But I just think they're going to outperform what people are thinking. That's just where I'm at with the Seahawks. Next up, the Washington Commanders. Granted, after last season's surprise, it's not really going to be shocking if the Commanders outperform what they did last year or even meet the same level. Where I think they're going to shock people is I think they're going to be so much better than they were last year. You've got Laramie Tunsil on the left side, blocking for Jaden Daniels and giving him protection he hasn't had before. Granted, I'm telling you this now, Commanders fans, get used to the Laramie Tunsil offside drive killing penalties. They are common, they're frustrating, and they will make you question why that man makes so much money. They also added Deebo Samuel. There does appear to be some contract dispute with Terry McLaurin, which is not good because he is their best receiver. Having him and Deebo would be incredible. But the Commanders still also have Noah Brown, and they signed Michael Gallup as well. They have a pretty decent receiver room for Jaden Daniels to throw to. Not to mention Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler to run the ball for him. And their defense isn't anything to laugh at either. They've only improved since last season, so I just think that they're going to go off. I think they could win the NFC East. I really think they can beat the Eagles. They're currently projected at 9.5 wins, so I think that's easy. I would take that all day of the week. I think they could get to the 11 or 12 mark. I really do. I really like the Commanders this year as being that playoff team that comes in and just comes in at the right time. So again, it's not that shocking. I still think they're going to outperform what people think they're going to do. Again, another obvious team that, shouldn't be too shocking, but I just think the development of Caleb Williams will be a huge factor in this. I'm going to put the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Caleb Williams' development is going to be a huge thing that people have a lot of questions on, so we'll see what happens with that. But the wide receiver room looks incredible right now. Yeah, you got DJ Moore, you have Roma Dunze, and you just drafted Luther Burden in the NFL draft. Those are 3 very solid wide receivers that Caleb should have no problem getting the ball to. They also signed Joe Thuney out of Kansas City to guard for Caleb this year. So they've improved the offensive line. They improved his weapons. The only reason that I think people are sleeping on the Bears is they're playing in the NFC North. If they were playing in any other division in football, they would be either contenders or division favorites to win their division. But because they're playing in the most difficult division in the league, I think they're getting slept on. And currently the Bears are at 8.5 projected wins. 8.5, that's it. And looking at their schedule, I think that they could again be another 11-win team. I wouldn't be shocked by that in any way, shape, or form. 8.5 just seems really low for a team that I really think could be getting 3 or 4 more wins on top of that. I think the Bears are going to surprise some people. Last but not least, the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners, I think, are getting slept on because they got rid of Deebo. Purdy is now going to have a big boy contract, not Mr. Irrelevant contract. A lot of those things people are digesting, and the Niners look like they took a step back. I think that's an issue, because I don't think the Niners really took that far of a step back. They still have Brandon Ayuk. The Niners also have Ricky Pearsall, which we're going to throw out last year because before the season start, there was an incident, which is not ideal and not what you want for a wide receiver. So let's see how his recovery goes through this offseason and really judge him after this season. On the other side of the ball, their defense is still pretty intact. They've lost a couple guys like Greenlaw, but they still have a very solid defense. They still have Bosa. They still have Warner. So that defense lost a couple pieces, but nothing insane. In the draft, the 49ers focused on defense, so their defense is going to get even better. Now, the Niners are projected to have a win total of about 10.5. Why I think they're going to surprise people is they currently have the weakest strength of schedule. They're a really good team playing a lot of bad teams. So I think they could sneak a few wins out of there that might shock a lot of people. I think 10.5 is very healthy, but I think it could go over that and they could win the NFC West. The only real competition out of the NFC West on paper really looks to be is the Rams, which is why I think the rest of the NFC West may shock and overthrow the Rams. And I hate saying that because my dad's a Rams fan, so there's that. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Am I way off base here? Am I drinking too much Kool-Aid? Or are there some teams on here you agree with me on? Let me know down in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It really does help me grow here. Follow me on social if you want to. And until the next one, have a good one.